What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about this new record from Lambchop entitled The Bible. They released that on September 30th. This is the band's 16th studio album and their follow up to 2021 show tunes. That album cover, whew, that is a powerful image. There's been lots of great covers so far this year, but I think that one takes the cake. It's fully loaded, very indicative of what you're about to experience on this album. Maestro Kurt Wagner dipping his toes into probably some of the darkest territory that he's ever ventured into on record, or at least that's just my experience, what I've been reading and what I've been discussing with people. This band is brand new to me. Very excited to talk about Lambchop and to continue digging into their back catalog. And it just makes me thankful for all the resources that we have out there. Between these guys and Suede, I'm so thankful for starting this channel, thankful for all of you. And I hope that in checking this channel out regularly, that you guys have all discovered an artist or a band that's impacted you the way that these two outfits have. And it's definitely, for someone my age at 38, it's very indicative of all those resources that we have now and just how limited they were back when I was growing up. In 1994, when this band started putting out records, I was 10 years old and they weren't getting any airplay. I mean, you could not hear this band on a radio station in Prescott, Arizona, where I was growing up. Maybe in Nashville, where they're from. Definitely, I feel like this is a band that with regional stations, they probably, most certainly got some airplay. But I was never exposed to these guys growing up. And there were a lot of bands like that. Unless you took the $20 dive and bought a CD to check a band out, you just, were kind of up the creek. You could read about them in publications. I definitely remember reading about these guys in Rolling Stone and other publications, but just was never able to hear any of their music. That and the name Lambchop, it's a pretty bad band name. Let's be real. That was always kind of off-putting for me. As I got older, as resources opened up, they were always kind of in my peripheral, but just never bothered to check them out once I got older. And it makes me sad too, as my taste got more sophisticated, as I opened myself up to more jazz. The Baroque pop influence on this particular record is outstanding. These guys on this record, they kind of remind me of, you talk about bands at the time where they were really starting to put out their early records, Sigur Rós and Cake. You get this great orchestration that reminds me of Sigur Rós. The horn arrangements, the strings, they're absolutely lovely. But there's so much on this album that has a bit of funk, a bit of drive, this catchy pop element to it that is absolutely just a wonderful dynamic. It makes this record so much fun to listen to. And again, especially with the dark territory that Kurt Wagner is venturing into, he's painting a relatively dark portrait of America right now. And it's not an unreal portrait in any way, shape, or form. But I think that lyrically, what he's, just the idiosyncrasies in his writing, the character studies, the descriptiveness of his songwriting, he's amazing. I definitely recommend pulling up lyrics, following along, especially the opening track. His song is sung. It's about his father. And I mean, just gorgeous, the portrait that he paints, the images that are there, very, very powerful. And I like the turn that the song takes at the end as well. We'll get into that in just a moment. But there's just great balance. And I think that exploring that dark territory lyrically is made very approachable by just this beautiful music. It's almost cinematic in a way. It almost kind of reminds me of film noir a little bit. You get these dark storylines, but then there's just wonderful lighting, and there's this music that even in its sadness, it's still so eloquent and so beautiful. And that's what I was feeling on this record. This is going to be in the top 10 for me, I believe, unless there's just 9 other records that come out like this in the next 2 months. I just don't see this getting knocked off the list by anything. And I think it's going to have a pretty high spot. Very impressed with everything about this album. And like I said, very, very excited to take some time and dip back into their back catalog when album releases slow down in December. But talking about that opening track, His Song is Sung, incredibly powerful song about his father. Gorgeous atmosphere of strings that develop. Horn, I love the horn arrangements in this album, but on this particular song, they're great. Keys, very cinematic on this opener. The vocal enters and the track becomes minimal. I really like the way that it's just only piano with the lyrics, and then you get this very fun avant-garde arrangement that enters. More horns, light rolling percussion, just a beautiful song. And I like the turn of the mood at the end. It starts off very dark, and it gets to a point where it's almost kind of like, man, it's almost like you're about to go down that rabbit hole, but then he takes that turn. And as a listener, it goes to this perfect place and opens you right into Little Black Boxes, your second song. This thing goes to work immediately, just bringing the funk right out of the gate. I love the feel of this song. Really dig the bass riff and the break that it takes. There's the same with the horns. They're just kind of intermittent the way they come in and out. The guitar and the piano are going to carry this track. This song, it kind of reminds me of Damon Albarn a little bit. I got a feel of Gorillaz a bit on this track. The space that everything occupies in this song, it's really just a fine example of how the sum of all the parts is just so much more. And I think that makes for excellent songwriting. I mean, these become more like arrangements than just, pop songs or rock and roll songs. And I think that that's what makes Kurt such an incredible songwriter. He's one of those guys that this has been a big revolving cast of characters throughout the years. So again, I think the term maestro is very appropriate for him. And he just has that ability to branch out and do something new. I mean, I hate to take a little break in the middle of the track run, but I was watching The Birth of Cool on Netflix about Miles Davis. And I think Miles is the type of guy artistically that really paved the way for guys like Kurt Wagner, guys that, they want to change with the times. They see what's going on musically, what people are connecting with. And so they're able to write music that's in their own style, but also remain relevant. And Miles was a guy that, I mean, to the day that he died, you listen to his late records, and I mean, you can't even put them into a genre. It's just like, that's Miles. You're listening to Miles. That's what it is. And so I like I said, I feel like Miles paved the way for guys like Kurt to just open up and do so much musically every single time they approach a record, even if it is with different players. But Miles was a guy that did that too. And he talked about how, he would be worn down with playing with certain guys that, he had solid friendships with. Ron Carter, especially, is a guy that appeared on that documentary, someone that we discussed a little bit ago on the channel. And I mean, how could you grow tired of growing with Ron Carter? But, Miles wanted to get into some electronic stuff. Ron didn't want to do that. And I feel like it's just a very natural progression as far as, people and their tastes. Some people want to stay with what it is that they do, like Ron, and some people like Miles just want to continue to evolve and grow, whether it works or not. And I just respect that. And I respect guys like Kurt and this band. Lambchop is just phenomenal. My limited exposure makes me very excited about these guys. Daisy, your third track, it's got this wonderful vocal intro, bit of a gospel feel, gorgeous piano enters on this track, jazz and pop elements to it, all the things. And Kurt just croons on this song. I love his voice. There's this just random like "hey" that comes out of nowhere that caught me off guard. I thought I was hearing something there. So you might rewind this thing when you hear that, but it's you're not hearing things. It's part of the record. And then I like the way that this song takes more of a jazz feel with the instrumentation as it progresses. Whatever Mortal is your fourth track. Got kind of this electro jazz feel on this song. It's so sultry and hypnotic. This song this might be my favorite track, just with the way this Spanish influence just works its way in, and it's lovely the way this song makes that transition. Great vocal in the Mercy part, and I love the way that hook on the second go around just evolves a little more. Great development there in that vocal element, and I cannot seem to find who it is that's appearing on that track singing with Kurt. If any of you have that information, that would be great. Throw that in the comments because I would love to know who that is. A Major Minor Drag is your fifth song, vocal intro with what sounds like I think is a vibraphone there, but definitely playing on an instrument that's similar to that. Horns and harp build in beautifully on this thing, has kind of this just mellow pop feel to it, maintains just a beautiful feel. This song reminded me of the Sundays that I go out up on Mount Lemon with the dogs, just a beautiful afternoon hike, and just, again, very cinematic as far as the breeze and the views, the way the sun is just, the rays are shining through the trees, and you just puts you there. I mean, Kurt is amazing like that. I can't get enough of this record and the music on it. Police Dog Blues, your sixth track. Sulcy, it's got this sultry recitative croon that carries the track. Minimal jazz and funk element builds in. The song honestly reminds me of Barry White a lot. I loved it for that reason. The bass is just absolute fire on this song, and so are the horns that join in. Great guitar solo when that hits, and another great backing vocal here as well. I couldn't find that information again, so if you got that, throw that in the comments. Dylan at The Mousetrap is your 7th song. Pretty piano and slide guitar on this song to open, and it's going to maintain this just pretty kind of like simple Americana feel. And I like the first part of the record definitely feels a little more upbeat and funky. This second half, it definitely it mellows out quite a bit. I dig the transition, but I got to say that I dig the funkiness of the first part. The second half, beautiful though, and what is going on in the arrangements. That 7th track from start to finish is going to carry that Americana feel. Your 8th song, Every Child Begins the World Again. I like that sentiment. I think it's a beautiful title. Chill jazz driven piano with what sounds like this just really cool pulsating horn mute. It's a very interesting musical element there that I dig. Bass builds in with other horn arrangement, and it's the strength of the piano builds on this song. I really like the way that element becomes stronger, and then the song builds nicely, then mellows to finish into your penultimate song. So there, piano with minimal bass, vocal intro. I really like the light synth textures that build in, and this song, it just maintains that feel into the coda and into the finish. It's a nice mellow moment that's going to lead into your 10th track and your final song. That's Music. Really a melancholy closer. You got piano, horns, strings just take us away on this thing. And I'm impressed with this record, just blown away by the quality of the music. I've read in a lot of places that this is kind of like a career highlight for this band. I'm certainly not one to judge that, but I am going to vinyl please the hell out of this thing because this record is gorgeous. So many rich textures, layers. Musically, this is something that you're going to be able to explore for years to come. I love this record. I love this band. I'll forgive them for the band name. Hope you all enjoy this record. Hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help us blow this project up in 2022, and stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.